Today, we're going to dive into ServiceStack OAuth Providers, how to use them, how they work, and walk through how you can build your own custom OAuth provider. Increasingly, social media platforms and other services are supporting the OAuth 2 standard as a way to allow their users to reuse their account to log into your own web applications. OAuth 2 allows you as the application developer to delegate authentication of a user out to another service, not only making it easier for existing users of a specific platform to log into your application, but also not having to deal with managing that user's authentication details. In the first ServiceStack Fundamentals video on authentication and authorization, we looked at the credentials auth provider and all the components involved. If you're not familiar with concepts in ServiceStack like the OAuth provider, Auth repository, or user auth, it would be worthwhile giving that video a watch first before coming back to this video. Before we dive into OAuth providers themselves, we're going to start by generating a ServiceStack application with the example authentication already wired up and walk through what happens when a user logs into our sample application with the Google Auth provider. We can use the Getting Started page on the ServiceStack website to start with a template that already contains an example of the configuration we need. Going to servicestack.net/start, provide a name for your project and add the features Auth, an Auth repository of RDBMS, and under RDBMS select SQLite. Next, we'll use the View SPA template to use with these features. Since this template already has registration and login UI we can use for this example. We won't focus on the UI since all authentication services are ServiceStack services, so have a clean, well-defined API to put your own UI on top. Instead, we'll be focusing on what's going on during the request that involves authentication itself. Once downloaded, unzip the project into a directory and open using your favorite IDE for .NET. Once open, navigate to the app host project, which will have the same name as you provided on the Getting Started page. Here we will see several configure C# files in the root of this project. The configure.auth file configures the Auth feature plugin, which is the starting point for our application, initializing the different components needed to set up authentication. Looking more closely at the OAuth options, the Auth Mix template comes configured with Facebook, Google, and Microsoft OAuth providers. These all take an instance of IAP settings in their constructor, which is where they get their platform-specific configurations such as consumer key and consumer secret for the Google OAuth provider. Before running this project for the first time, be sure to run npm install to install all our JavaScript dependencies. Running our application, we can use the provided login page, which has a login with Google button already wired up. Just like most OAuth login processes, in this Google example, the overall flow is that the user is redirected to a login page for the specific platform where they will need to prove who they are by logging in. Then this platform will redirect the user back to our ServiceStack application with the details of their account and a way to access limited information about that user. Walking through this diagram, we can see our single-page app user clicks the login link for Google, which hits the auth/Google path. Looking at the source code for the Google Auth provider, we can see the constant name field has the value of Google, which is what is used to identify the auth provider in our application. The Authenticate service uses this name to look up which registered auth provider should be used for this authentication request. Once the Google Auth provider has been found, it redirects the user to a default authorized URL. This is where the user is challenged to authenticate with their Google account and authorize the use of their details with an application you registered yourself as a developer. The template is already configured with a demo application registered with Google, which has been configured to call back to localhost port 5001 for demo purposes, but this is something you can control when you set up your own application with providers like Google. Once the user has successfully logged in and authorized the use of their details, the user is then redirected back to our ServiceStack application with this pre-configured URL. The Google Auth provider then takes the successful login redirect and extracts the provided user details to create or update the user in your system using the iAuth repository and creates the Auth user session persisted with the registered iCache client. In our example application, the iAuth repository implementation is an ORM Lite auth repository backed with a SQLite connection factory which is used to store user information. The iCache client in this case is an in-memory cache, which is used to store user auth session information and which can be referenced by a cookie provided to the user upon a successful authentication. Subsequent calls to services that require authentication will provide the cookie with the request, which can be used to retrieve the user session from the cache stored via the same iCache client. This session is then validated to make sure the session has the rights to access the authenticated service. To get a better idea about how the Google Auth Provider works internally, let's have a closer look at the constructor. We have the constructor looking for configuration details provided in the IAP settings instance. These details can be loaded into the IAP settings object in various ways, and we go over this in the fundamentals video about the app host, which you can also check out. In our example application, they are provided using the appsettings.development.json file in the app host project, where we can see example details already specified, so the example code works straight away. The Google Auth Provider constructor is also defining some default authentication scopes to control what access we are requesting when users authenticate. Nav items are also registered, which can be used to dynamically create UI controls based on registered Auth providers. This auth provider also provides overridden methods for the create auth info async and authenticate with access token async. Every OAuth provider is likely to have a different structure of user information, and this steps allows us to fetch and map information coming from the third-party service to our own user auth via a dictionary. So armed with this information, let's walk through an example of how we can make our own OAuth 2 provider. For OAuth 2 providers like Google, we can use the source code in ServiceStack itself as a guide. Let's walk through adding support for a new OAuth 2 provider like Discord to show that extending ServiceStack authentication is more approachable than you might think. When adding a new OAuth provider, you will generally have to find the documentation for that service and create or register an app. Doing this up front can also help us use and test our custom OAuth provider while we build it. You will likely need to provide a redirect or callback URL when you register your app. For testing, we will want to use localhost port 5001/auth/discord to handle the response. The documentation should also have details of the authorize and access token URL. Here we can see them in the Discord documentation, and for simplicity, we will use the same pattern we find in the Google Auth Provider so we can see the mapping between the two different implementations. We'll use Discord as the provider name constant, set up some default values for the URLs from the Discord documentation, and create a default constructor that just takes an IAP settings instance for ease of use. We will also specify some default scopes, as the minimum we need to get for a user is an email as well as some profile information. Just like the Google Auth Provider, these scopes should be overridable since requirements for those integrating with Discord will vary. Lastly, let's add a nav item in the constructor so that our UI will automatically pick up when to provide Discord as a login option for our users. So we haven't yet provided details for how we're going to handle the login information from Discord, but let's wire up our auth provider to our application so we can see how this configuration works and so we can debug while we build the rest of our integration. Navigating to appsettings.development.json, we can use the expected pattern of configuration keys for our custom Discord auth provider and copy the details from the app we created using the Discord developer portal. To make it easier for developers to figure out which information from the Discord developer portal maps to our OAuth 2 provider consumer key and consumer secret, we can provide more recognizable names for our configuration to use by specifying 2 more arguments to the base constructor call in our own auth provider. In this case, client ID and client secret. OAuth 2 implementations can vary, but the OAuth 2 provider base class has different methods you can override to resolve issues that might arise. An example here with Discord is the requirement that using the access token URL must post data in the body rather than query string parameters. To resolve this, we can override the getAccessToken JSON async method and provide the information in the body of the post call as required. Running our application again and logging in with Discord, we can now see our breakpoint is being hit in the create auth info async method. Lastly, let's use the createAuthInfoAsync method and the access token for the user logging into Discord to fetch the information we need to return in the dictionary. Again, it's best to refer to specific documentation for what data will be returned, with the goal to map to the basic data used in load user auth info async, which is user ID, username, name, first name, last name, and email. If you need more control on the data populated into the user session, you can override this method as well. Testing this out by navigating to localhost auth/discord in our browser, we can see Discord authentication service is asking us to authorize this app to use our information to log in. Clicking authorize, we can see our createAuthInfoAsync method firing as expected, and letting it continue, we can now see our name on the front screen and we are now authenticated using Discord. ServiceStack has many different supported auth provider integrations ready to go out of the box, and we're adding Discord to that list so you can check out the source code yourself in the GitHub link in the description. For the built-in OAuth providers, you only have to configure specifics like consumer key and consumer secret via your app settings config to get it working with ServiceStack's authentication model. Summarizing what we've covered in this video, starting from the generated template, we showed how OAuth providers are configured in your application looking at the Google Auth provider as the example. We then walked through the request flow for the Google Auth provider, which is based on the OAuth 2 specification, and finally we walked through creating our own custom OAuth 2 provider integrating with Discord. In the next video in this series focusing on authentication, we will look at token-based authentication providers supported in ServiceStack, like the API key auth provider and the popular JSON Web Tokens, or JWT. That's it for this video. I hope you found it useful, and thanks for watching.